do it. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Panel Live. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday evening. And here we go with another one of these. So tonight it's going to be another short stream for us. We are painting some cool Umbra stuff. As you can see, it's mostly done. So yeah, most of this was dry brushed, and then I just did a wash on the cobblestone, so you can barely see it right now. But we're just going to continue to enhance the painting on the body and the whatnot. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to do kind of a general dry brush on the models, just to get what am I looking for here? I'm really just trying to get some of the lighter areas of the model to pop. Okay, so I'm going to have to carefully choose what dry brush paint I want to use here. But yeah, that's kind of the plan for tonight. I think this dry brush is dead. It's too... I don't clean my dry brushes, so they just become crunchy after a while. That one there, too crunchy. Too crunchy. Too old for the training. We'll throw it out. You've served us well, dry brush. Let's see if I have maybe this guy. This guy's kind of old too. That one's kind of old too. A little too crunchy. All right, let's. So that means we're gonna have to break open a new dry brush. So, hey, what's up? Hiya! What's up, Nelson? So we're gonna crack open a new dry brush, and these cost me a whole like $2 at Big Lots. So we'll pop open this guy. And brand new dry brushes are great because they're so soft. They're so soft and so perfect, right? How soft that is. Super soft. The only problem with it is it may shed a little bit of fiber. Okay, so I'm just gonna rub most of it clean real quick. Okay, so we'll go back to that, and then we're going to do like a general dry brush. Okay, nothing specific right now, just a general dry brush. And for general dry brushing, I like to use this light sand from MIG dry brush paint, which is fun. We'll shake it up a little bit. So yeah, these, if you remember, I was working on these last week and stopped working on these to knock out the MCP stuff that we needed for this for the tournament yesterday, and Nelson's last batch for a while. So all right, so we get a little bit of paint on there, and we're just going to immediately get rid of most of it into my rag. I was gaming today, Nelson. Did you guys get any MCP in today or anything else? All right, here we go. Make sure that looks pretty good. Okay, so, and we're gonna use it on some of these creatures here, right? And what I want is, I really kind of want just the outer edges like that. Hey, Chris. My screen is too dark. I cannot see what you said. More stuff tonight, it seems. More Ivan stuff. Oh, yeah. This is just leftover Ivan stuff, really. I don't really know what my status is with Ivan. He's super fun, very powerful. He may become a main crew for me one day. We'll see. Malifaux is so commitment heavy. I just don't know that I'm ready to commit. You know what I mean? I got Colette, still my favorite keyword to run in all of Malifaux. But there's all this cool stuff, and honestly, it's so easy to tech against Colette these days with all the new stuff. But I guess that's never really stopped me before, because Colette hasn't been new for a very long time. And it's, it's always been, if not easy, at least understandable how to tech against her. Right? Alright. So we're going to just give these a light dry brush. It was fun for Jason's Magneto one-shot Valkyrie, then killed both Crystal and Angela. Still a closer game than I anticipated, thanks to Chris's guidance. Nice! Yeah, Chris coming off the win there in the tournament this weekend, which was a very fun tournament, despite the fact that I got posterized in that tournament. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, I got posterized in that tournament by that last player who played Doomsday Prophecy and All You've Got. So 2 restricted cards in a single back-to-back activation to kill basically my entire team with Carnage. It was cool to watch. Like it's cool to watch, and he wasn't too much of a dick about it, but he was kind of a dick about it. If you know what I mean. Like, oh, don't worry, this is going to be great for me type thing, right? And then bragging about his filthy activation after that. So that's that's a power gamer dick that makes people quit the game. That would have made that. I think that would have made a lesser person, not experienced with miniature games, or maybe not used to that type of activity. That would have made a lesser person quit. I think that would have made somebody quit the game. People like him are bad for getting new people in a game. They should not be allowed near people who are trying to, enjoy the miniature gaming hobby. But it's all good, right? All good. He got in his cheap win. My bad for me not, understanding that's what he had in his tactics team. Yeah, it's right. It's still ultimately my fault, but I did take issue with kind of his dickishness about it, like his smug. Right, that's not good. That's not you can play that, and I've done shit that's been pretty gross to other people, but there's a difference. You can say look, I'm gonna do something that's really horrible, and I'm sorry, and we can witness this brutality together, or I can just explain to you what's about to happen, and you can say we either do it or not do it. You know what I mean? I've done stuff like that, and Nelson will point out what I did to him with Colette, and I still feel kind of bad about it, as I should. But it's stuff like that combined with the kind of attitude around it that I think we'll get. It's just not good for games like that. That said, MCP is such a popular game that you'll still have 1 million people show up to your tournament. It's another thing I didn't realize there were people like that. I thought everyone's pretty dope. Yeah, everybody there. That crowd was pretty nice. The last Power Gamer guy, I think I run into them, or I give them opportunities to be them, if that makes sense, right? It might be me being really nice and giving them the opportunity to be their true selves when they're playing these games. But I'm pretty sure that guy was the biggest asshole there, because everybody else that I played were super nice. Actually, Jason was one of the other 2 games, so definitely Jason is nice. And then the first guy played Christian. He's a nice guy. He's a strong player, and but he takes the time to explain everything. And he basically told me what I can and can't do. He would pause and make sure that I've read and understood what's about to go on. That's a good player. right? Good player, strong player, and that kind of thing. But now it's like the third game. There's usually some dickishness. Now, I was still, in my opinion, I was still super cool about it, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, congratulations on your move or whatever. And it should be, right? He's set up for that. He selected the right cards. He selected the right crew. He did the right things, and there's nothing wrong with doing that because he built the crew to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. What I took issue with was like, oh, don't worry, this is going to be great for me, and you're just going to have to watch it, and it's so cool that I just wrecked you like that. That's I like, you know what I mean? That's not cool. If that happened to, like I said, if that happened to somebody else, I would be pretty pissed that he acted that way. Um, Intel Christian's legit strong player. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So, um, but you know what? I walked out of that tournament really happy. I was really pretty happy about my experience, and I'll tell you why. It's because I'm starting to see, okay, this is where this game can go. This is what the competitive people are playing the game for and why. And I can understand that and go, well, that's cool. Maybe I will never buy the stuff I need or take the stuff I need to really be competitive or win a tournament. Maybe, but that's not really my goal. My goal is I want to play the stuff that I really like, and good or bad, I just want to make good decisions with it, right? And that last game, I I made a terrible team. I put together a terrible team, and I made some bad decisions. And so I did not. Don't get me wrong. I did the bad things. I did not deserve to do well in that game. And again, that's not the point, right? I did it. I put together a bad team. I played I played poorly, and then yeah, deserved to lose. Sure. But yeah, I don't know. To me, like I said, um, it comes down to demeanor and making sure that both people are really enjoying the game, even if they're getting skunked pretty hard, right? Um, and you know, I've had some games in the past, in some past tournaments, where I won the game and still did not still kind of took exception to the other player's attitude. That like, okay, they were still kind of a jerk, right? I had people brag to me that they're going to win the game. Like they get to the table and they're like, hey, I'm the guy that's going to kick your ass. I actually had someone say that to me in a tournament before. I'm the guy that's going to kick your ass. And when they lose, they get so upset and they get so like there's such thing as a poor loser, but the only thing worse than a poor loser is a poor winner, if that makes sense. Uh, yeah, yeah, he's a cool player. He's a cool player, you know. And there's definitely I do think that I had every opportunity to win that game. Right, the score was very close. It came down to he just at the end of the game uh, he just ended up overpowering me at that last turn. But I was making good decisions, so I don't mind losing that game. I didn't mind losing that game at all. In fact, that was my favorite game of the tournament, was that game, because I felt like I played it well. But, dice weren't going my way, and Christian played better than me, like flat out. He just outplayed me. So he outplayed me and he outrolled me. So of course he deserves to win. That's fine. I'm like, I want to play that kind of game all the time because I learned more from that game than I did from the Power Gamer guy that just like, oh no, I broke his arm again. Ah, my arm. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I learned more from that game than I did from the other games. And unfortunately, the game I had with Jason also went really south. And I hope I was not a dick to Jason Even though I will say this, I was still kind of crying about how good his dice rolling was. Even though, even though I won that game like 16-1. It was pretty bad. Um, Actually, it was because I landed on 15. I think our turn 4 score was something like 22-1. It was bad. It was bad. Um, but yeah. But so wow. I did not do a good job gluing this thing at all. But the good news is I can now sneak this thing in the arm where it's supposed to be. Right there. Sometimes my plastic glue is failing me. But yeah, um, the the whole thing for me is I want to be able to play my list, right? And I like crafting my list, and I like playing the casual learning games with everybody and figuring out, okay, here's where this list is going, and kind of evolving it into where I can go take it in a tournament and go, okay, let's see what this list can really do. And in this past example, the list performed poorly because I built too many leaders into the list. It didn't have good enough focus, and my plan wasn't good enough. Okay, my plan was not clear enough. Right, so I had my list, and I was like, okay, at 18 threat, I'm pretty much golden, because if I win priority and I get 18 threat, I'm playing my Web Warriors list that I'm very, very, very proficient at. Okay, I know that list very well. I know how to play all the characters in it. I know what my flex spots are, and how to change it. And so I'm good there. My plan starts to fall apart when you start to look at the other threats, and I'm like, okay, well, what's my 17 threat response? And originally, in the first tournament I played in, my 17 threat response was to play basically the 18 threat list and swap out one character for a cheaper character. That was it. That was the whole point of having Black Widow in that original list that I ran, right? But this time around, I did not do that. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play a 17 threat. I wanted to play something completely different. And I said, okay, so at 17 threat, I want to be able to play Syndicate or Cabal or Spider Foes. That's how dumb my plan was. So I was like, I wanted to be able to play any of those, but not likely Web Warriors, because it's the 17 threats. I want to be able to manage that crisis differently. I want to be a 17 threat. I want to be more head-on. I want to be able to match people pound for pound, at least on secure objectives. And I want the ability to steal extracts from them. That's all. But that plan was not clearly fleshed out in my brain, because there were too many options with what affiliation I could run, and how I was going to accomplish that with different tech pieces, right? So that's the main lesson I learned was, okay, in my opinion, stick with a main affiliation and then have a smaller built-in second affiliation that comes in comes in at very specific points, right? I still do not have a good way of handling that C-map problem that I have, where people can park in the middle of the field and they can set up the puzzle box with Shuri and Okoye and push me in and out of it and have bodyguard and have extra dice for everything and be able to protect their main hit piece. Once they're set up, they can protect everything. And and I did actually try to separate those pieces out. It's just dice were not in my favor, right? So I was like, okay, this character has a push. This character has a push. I can push Okoye out of the way and start to do damage on the characters I really want to hit, right? Yeah, two similar affiliations. So I like what I'm really looking at is mainly right now, at least until they change Goblin. I'm really looking at Web Warriors and Syndicate because I do feel that there's some similarities there with both of those affiliations really being more objective focused and not terribly hitty, right? They're very objective focused. They're very good at playing objectives. Uh, but Syndicate can play secures extremely well. Web Warriors can play extracts and secures pretty well. Web Warriors will play better on maps that force a good spread around the map. Um, and Syndicate can play a little bit better when things are getting tighter. Kingpin is a great piece for the CMAP fights, which is why I thought I did have a pretty good chance of winning that first game. I just got outplayed and outdiced, and that's fine. I will take that. That's fine. Christian's a better player. He built a better list. It upsets me a little bit that I just keep saying, okay, as long as I take this really nasty piece and I just have an Okoye bodyguard, that's good enough. And that's my baggage. Like, I want to be able to go, okay, I can counter that by doing this. And I don't want this to be Nebula, right? Because you're going, oh, let's just take Nebula, right? And then she'll just void Okoye entirely. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that, but that's not, Nebula makes no sense in my list, so I don't want to take Nebula. And I understand I'm setting myself up here for a lower chance of success by ruling out stuff that we know is going to be pretty effective. I still want to operate within my own self-inflicted code of I want to stick with the theme that I've got. I don't want to go too far out of theme or put models on the board that I don't want to put on the board. If that makes sense, right? I feel like Web Warriors have a good number of ways to do this around, mainly with web lines. Web lines and pulling pieces in and out of that puzzle box. But with the building put specifically behind him, that basically voided all my pushes, and I just didn't have the web line. In that list, I screwed up because I did not have a Venom or somebody that could pull characters forward. So in that type of setup, what would have worked better for me was honestly to let him score bigger in the first couple of turns, so that I could set up my trap and put in a tech piece like a Venom or like a Gwen who can pull pieces out of his tank and start to chew him down, right? Force him to play a little bit more of a chase game after me. And if I could do that with better control pieces and land the hits when I needed to land them, that was the other problem. Is I think I only landed like one daze that entire game. That's part of the issue. And with the secure being in the middle, there's no value to having a bunch of characters that could go out on the flanks and just keep scores down, right? I had in that team, I believe I had Black Cat, who would have been great to steal stuff. I had Lizard, who got pushed out of the game, but he was able to pick up a point. I mean, he was still scoring, but the important thing with Lizard is he was kept out of the fight, and he would have been a great tech piece to push people around. Christian knew that, and he played it perfectly. He played it very well. It didn't help that I failed every single spider roll that I had in that game, so I was never in full control of my pieces' positions. I had Kingpin, who did extremely well, and then I had Sin, who really had no business being in that list. She was not going to net me anything great. So if I were to redo that game, knowing what I know about the Crisis, I think Web Warriors would have been better at 17 threat, because I would have put in I would have probably dumped Amazing. I would have dumped Amazing out of that list because he doesn't do great stuff there. I would have had Daredevil, Venom, and Gwen, all of which are capable of drawing people out of the puzzle box, right? They all have good, it's not pushes, they have pulls, and that's very important because that's very difficult to play against. So, again, that's where, like, okay, you're going to have this big, honking, amazing guy with his infinity gem and his personal bodyguard in the middle of the field. Okay, I'll just pull, like, a Medusa out and just get rid of Medusa and go ahead and score for a couple turns. Then I'm going to pull, then I can pull Okoye out, or I could pull Shuri out and kill those pretty quickly. But again, it's, it comes down to playing the timing. Also, I misdeployed All According to Plan. I misplayed that twice in both games that I lost. So there's that. I also lost priority in both games that I lost. Right, losing priority is a big deal for me because it means, because winning priority is a big deal because if I take extracts, I make sure there is no lame ass sit in the middle and be a dick scenario in there. So yeah, because that like I said, my losses. So in tournament play so far, I have 3 wins and 3 losses. My 3 wins are all marked with me. I've won every game where I've won priority. Although I didn't. I won every game where I won priority because I can take the extracts and just make sure there is no sit in the middle. But it's not a good enough strategy because you're not going to win priority all the time. And anybody who's looking at my 10 goes, "Oh, he doesn't have a monster. I don't have a monster. I don't have a big hitter in my list. I don't have a Wanda or or a Thanos or a Magneto, or I don't have that type of character." And you don't even need to look down my list. I don't have an Okoye. Right? Okoye is a dead giveaway. Oh, somebody's taking a piece that they absolutely do not want to die until they've pulled off their bullshit. Right? Yeah, Nelson, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. I can't rely on having priority. So, you're learning my lessons here. So yeah, I lose priority. The other player looks at my list. They know that I don't have a monster with a bodyguard. So they're like, oh, well, I got a monster with a bodyguard, so I'll pick this map that forces me to sit in the middle, and this guy can swing around all day he wants, but he'll never land secures because the secure is in the center of the board. So that's where I lose. And in fact, the third guy picked an extract, which is really a secure. Which is the lab thing. So even if I did win priority against that guy, he could still have played the same extract that he played. So it still would have been a very difficult game. So I do need to learn how to actually play in that scenario where somebody's got a big ugly thing in the middle that's being bodyguarded, and they're just sitting there racking up points and pulling my guys in and killing them. Right? Every one of my losses has been that. Has been, first, going back to the first tournament. Won the first 2 games in that first tournament because the maps were allowing me to be all over the board. They were allowing me to slip in and out of danger and to just keep racking up the score while the guy is trying to figure out how to step on me. Right? Oh, I can't target. I can't get that guy. I can't get to that guy. Right? That's how Web Warriors play. It's like, okay, you have a hard time getting to me. But if the name of the game is sit in the middle and rack up your score, that's a problem that I have to learn how to tech better against. And I have the pieces to do it. Like I just said, my roster has 3 pieces, very reliable pieces that can do that. I just didn't deploy them. And again, I didn't play very well, so we're trying to learn all of that. You lose 7 7 to 8 out of 10 priority rolls. Yeah, you can't rely on winning priority. Winning priority is a big deal in my opinion, for the reasons I just said, but it can't be part of your strategy. It's a, if you get priority, well, that takes some problems off the board. But if you don't win priority, people are going to do this, and they're going to play to situations that favor them. And most of the people I run into, they favor those teams, those really hitty, angry teams, right? So, all right, let's see if I can either do the fluorescent before or after the ink. And doing it after the ink helps it blend more, but doing the ink after helps it blend more, but doing the ink before helps it brighten. So I think I want to do ink before. So, anyways, it's a good thing. Like, my plan here is to just be an average tournament player that just buys the pieces I want to buy, and I win some games and I lose some games. But the goal is really that with whatever pieces I'm running, I want to have a good chance to make good decisions, right? Maybe somebody just techs against me entirely and knows every counter to every piece I have in my roster. That's fine, and they're going to win the game. Also fine. I just want to have, for me, or for my goal is I want to be playing pretty well. That's all. I just want to make good decision. You know, when the answer is, well, you really need to put this person in your list, that's what I don't like about war games right there. Well, you need to put this in your list. I don't like that about a war game. That's very, and I get most war games are like that. Most war games are like that. Oh, I'm having problems with this. Oh, well, just go to the store and buy this. And that never sat well with me. I've always been well, let's look at, and don't get me wrong, I still advise people to change what's on their roster, but it should be, in my opinion, you change what's on your roster within a frame of context. Because some players will just say, okay, well, I want to win the game. And if you want to win the game, okay, change your roster. If it's like an affiliate, or if it's like a heavy faction-based game like Guild Ball or whatever, they may say, oh, I want to win the game with this team, and I'm teching against this particular setup. Well, Guild Ball, at least in theory, and I do believe like this kind of works, is that you should be able to do that within the team that you have, right? Not the 6 models that you put on the board, don't get me wrong. The team that you have. So you should be able to go, well, I'm playing Fisherman, and I'm having a really hard time against Trapjaw Hunters. You should be able to go, okay, well, within Fisherman, take these 3 pieces, and they're going to help you. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm playing my 10, I want to be able to do that, but let me counter myself for a second here. Because of the way MCP builds teams and rosters, it's a little naive to say that I'm making the assumption that I put together a capable 10, that I didn't put together a 10 model group of models that have way too much redundancy, right? So that's kind of, so you get where I'm going on all of these various thoughts. Yeah, being able to finish MCP games quickly is a great thing. Absolutely love that we can do that now. And I love that, playing for a 10-man roster really speeds that up, right? So I'll play a 10-man roster, play a game, try stuff out and go, okay, I like this person, they stay in my roster. I don't like this person, they're off my roster. Or I don't see a reason this person needs to stay on my roster. That's all we're really kind of going for here. All right. I want the bug eyes to have like actual bug eyes, so I'm gonna facilitate that. But you know, I don't think too many people were expecting Chris to win the tournament. I know I was kind of looking around the room and going, you know, I know these people are good at the game, so they're most likely going to win. So that was pretty cool. That was like, actually, that was more than pretty cool. I was pretty happy about that. I'm like, sweet, Chris won the tournament. Good. I don't want these guys that I don't want the outsiders to win the tournament. I want our own guys to win the tournament. Totally. And my probably the best thing about Chris winning the tournament is the fact that Chris straight up tells you that this is not a competitive game and he's never considered it a competitive game. That's my favorite thing of all, is that we started playing MCP and I was playing Malifaux on the sidelines and going, what is this game? Chris was like, oh, don't worry. It's not a very competitive game. It's a simple game. You just put your pieces on the board and enjoy it for what it is, right? And then he shows up, still doesn't consider it a competitive game, and proceeds to win a tournament. That's awesome, right? There's really nothing cooler than that, in my opinion. Because that, to me, that says that you understand a thing. Like, you understand it well enough that you're like, okay, I'm going to put together my win. Or I'm going to play well, and dice hopefully will break enough in my favor to where my plan will be better than the other guy's plan, and I'll win the games. That's pretty damn cool, right? I don't know. I like that. And now so as soon as Chris won, it was like, hey man, you go to SoCal Open? Hey man, you play in an LVO? Then he got accepted into the club. They were like, the competitive people in the room were like, hey man, you gonna be... They were like, oh, okay, he's one of us, but he's not, because he doesn't consider MCP a competitive game. Right? And a lot of those guys in that room are like PhDs in MCP. Oh, you study this, you take this card, you buy it this way, and you do this. And they get so serious and so technical when you're talking with those guys on the break, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah. No, I know why Chris says that. I know why Chris says that. Because the mechanics of the game, the reason why, some people, Chris included, and me too, I will also say that I do not consider it to be a competitive game. It's because, and I guess I'll just give you my answer why I don't consider it to be a competitive game. I don't consider it a competitive game for a couple of reasons, but for me, the main reasons are the factions are not tightly defined, so it's a harder game to balance, and two, the actual character transactions they're not terribly intricate. They really aren't. Roll up, see if your stuff's in range, see what kind of power you have available to you, make the best of that, try to score off of an extract and a secure. No matter what the scenarios say, they're all very similar. There's just differences in the amount of points or extracts and the way they're aligned on the board. So it's a very simple game from that standpoint. And if you line up things well enough and you can get dice to break at the right times, then you have a chance of winning the game. I feel like the competitive side of MCP the folks that really that are playing on the competitive side, that they understand a lot of basic fundamental truths about the game, which is why they pick the characters that they do, why they agree that characters are S tier or A tier or B tier, and there isn't too much debate. There's not big wild debate about characters. There's a general understanding that if you stay within this realm, then statistically you'll do better than a guy that just picked a bunch of like random stuff that he thought was cool looking. Right? So again, I don't consider that to be, that's not the mark of to me, a competitive game is a very clean system with a reliable RNG mechanic. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the Guild Ball dice system, you look at these other systems, War Machine, where the RNG is much more predictable models. They don't swing super hard off of opposed dice rolls, that sort of thing, right? That's a competitive game, because that game, speaking for Guild Ball, for example, that game will clearly reward a player who has the experience, who can play a roster well, and will just make good decisions most of the time. This guy won without Okoye. Yeah. I mean, he had some monsters in his list, right? He had Wanda. He had some hitters in his list, right? And it was well built. He had a well built list. He had Valkyrie. He had good stuff. He had gooder stuff in his list, and he played it well. Like, that's right. If I want to win tournaments, I need to accept certain truths about the game. They're like, okay, well, right now, for my 3 cost, and if I want a 3 cost hitter that's very efficient with attacking, that can get across the board and can build energy very reliably, who wouldn't take Valkyrie, right? If I want a mobile hitter with good rerolls and consistent damage, who wouldn't take Baron Zemo? It's stuff like that, right? There's certain fundamental truths that you just have to go, okay, yeah, that's where the state of the game is right now, and you put Okoye in your list if you need Okoye in your list. Now, that said, these guys aren't playing Web Warriors, and I don't think they would put Okoye in a Web Warriors list unless they had put one of these hitters in that list as well. Right? Because Okoye on Web Warriors is extremely redundant. Yeah, opposed dice rolls are super swingy, but they will always be super swingy. They are inherently swingy. And looking at the games that died, right? Looking at post-mortem games, I'm talking about, I'll pick Relic Knights because it is still a dead game. I'll pick Guild Ball, and I'll pick Relic Knights, Guild Ball, and yes, even Wrath of Kings. And what was the other one? But there was something, when those games got canceled, it was something important was always pointed out. And this is very true of Relic Knights 1.0. And in fact, the designers talked about this in Relic Knights 1.0. Relic Knights 1.0, when they went, because I did some alpha testing with them on 2.0 originally. One of the main criticisms of the game was the fact that the game was too difficult for a new player. It was too difficult for a new player to beat an experienced player. There was very little underdog chance in Relic Knights 1.5. The same could be said about Helldorado, and that was a criticism of Helldorado. That was a criticism of Guild Ball. It was too predictable, and that the better, more experienced player would always win. And we like to think, as miniature gamers, we like to think, yes, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's a good miniatures game. I consider that to be the hallmark of a competitive miniatures game. A competitive miniatures game should be defined that way, that the the smarter, more experienced player should pretty much always win against the underdog player. And that being a criticism of these games is legitimate because it made it very difficult for new players to walk into an established scene and walk into an established meta and really make any impact other than continue to learn and lose and lose and lose and lose until they get to that point where they can start winning games. Now, War Machine accepted that. The War Machine community just accepts that, and they go, look, they tell you when you start playing War Machine, they'll say, buddy, this is a competitive game. You're going to lose your first 12 games, at least. Okay? That's this game. But that should be you would say, okay, that's a selling point, though, because that means that as you get better, you'll be able to beat people. Right? You can truly say that you've gotten better at these games. We said the same thing in Guild Ball. When you play Guild Ball, we tell you, look, if you keep playing experienced and competitive people in Guild Ball, you will continue to lose this game. You will continue to lose the game for a while until your skill, your actual skill, starts to catch up. And we don't know when that will be, right? For Kevin, it's pretty quick. For the rest of us, not so quick. So that's what I'm saying. We look at opposed dice rolling system, and we go, well, that's shitty game design because it's super random, and and like I could have made all the right decisions in a game, and this other person just walk up and stomp my dick because they roll better than I do. We've seen it all the time in some of these games. It happens all the time, and I was going to do a whole video on how making a bad decision in a game with opposed dice rolling can win you the game, because that's how wildly those things swing. But though that's actually good for these mainstream games. It's part of the reason why these games get widely accepted, is because yes, you, Jimmy, brand new player, you have a chance of beating Kevin at this game. Just roll really well and hope Kevin has an off day. And Kevin might make better decisions than you, but you still have a chance of beating him, right? And people like that. People like that. I don't like it. I think that there is a correct formula. I just have no idea how to get to it. This is my opinion. I think that you should be able to play 25 games. You should be able to play 25 games against a better player and win accidentally one of those games. There we go. There you go. I'm saying 4%. I'm saying 4% is the correct amount of randomness when there is a considerable skill gap in a game. That's an acceptable gap to me. That's not an acceptable gap to most people. All right, and I understand you guys are everybody in this chat. We are, whether you want to believe it or not, we are in the hardcore portion of the community, right? I'm not saying we're hardcore power gamer, win at all cost players, but we're hardcore in the sense that we remain deeply active in the games, okay? That's what I'm saying. And when you are deeply active in the game, then you do want 4%. But for these game designers, and I've heard this directly from game designers, they want closer to 10%. Meaning they want, if you're playing 10 games and there is a marked skill difference between you and the person you're playing against, that other person should still have a 1 in 10 shot of taking you down. And I got mixed feelings about that, right? Because I want to get better at my game. That's my goal. I want to get better at the game. And I want to play well. I want to make good decisions. And I don't need to be the best player, but I want to be a player that keeps getting better and is sharp on the board, and I move clean. And these are things that all miniature gamers want when they're playing their games. Now, some miniature games players are like, yes, but I want to be able to win every single game, right? So I'm saying it's 4. It should be 4. I'll move it up. I'll say it should be 5%. It should be a 1 in 20 shot that an underdog beats the superior player. Even that's probably too high for some people. Some people in Relic Knights, that chance was like 0%. You have no. If in Relic Knights, if someone knows how to play well and you do not know how to play as well as they do, you're going to lose. Virtually 100% of the time, that's what I got from all of the designers. That's what I've seen firsthand playing lots of Relic Knights. Is I'm like, when players are equally skilled, yeah, sure, it could be a coin toss, right? But if I played, me, an experienced player, played Nelson, who's never played the game in Relic Knights, he has a 0% chance of beating me. And that's not any judgment on Nelson. That's the game. There's a 0. I will make better decisions. I will have the color cards that I need. I will have the Esper. I'll have the Esper I need whenever I need it. I'll be at the right point of the board whenever I need to be. I'll make the right decisions, and there is such a low probability of anything going catastrophically wrong that I will win that game. Right? So that was the criticism of that game. It's a criticism of Guild Ball. It's a criticism of Eldorado. It's a criticism of a lot of these games that were very, very tightly controlled and did not have much randomness to them. And I got I talked with the original designer of Wrath of Kings, and we were talking about how much, like, I told him how much I really love the game, that the single die roll system, I absolutely, when it was announced by Simon, I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. I was like, that is the dumbest sounding game ever. So I just roll a dice and I win or I lose. Well, why don't I just walk around and flip a coin a bunch of times, and if I get more heads, then I win the game. And I did not understand how that was built into the game well. Okay, and so when we started playing the game, then really it clicked down. I'm like, oh, this single dice roll system is actually super stable, because it's a single die roll system. There's no crazy opposition. Things can go wrong, but they don't go catastrophically wrong. What's up, man? Right? And so that designer told me that they felt that the game design that relied on randomness was laziness on the part of the designer. He's like, yeah, I feel like that's lazy. I feel like he was saying he feels like the system should compensate itself well enough that, look at the pink eyes on that thing. It should compensate itself well enough that you can follow a very predictable model of who's going to win and who's not going to win. And ultimately, that proved pretty bad not for Wrath of Kings. Wrath of Kings died for many other reasons, almost none of which had to do with the game. Just had to do with the company, Simon, not wanting to continue the game. But that was a massive criticism of Guild Ball. Was, you could play a stronger player and almost never beat them. Everybody's got the pink eyes on this. I don't know. We're giving them all pink eyes. Right? It's contagious. Pink eye's contagious. Yeah, in my opinion, most new players will not stick around and lose 20 times. Yeah. You want to hear something really awful, talk to Sean about his War Machine experience, right? that just made him feel bad about himself. He just played and played and played. He loved the local North San Diego meta because it was a super active meta. It was super fun. He liked playing games with those folks, but he couldn't keep up with their activity. He couldn't keep up with their gaming schedule, and people just kept getting better and better and better, and it was slower going for him. So it was harder. Right? And when it's like that, you just lose games and lose games and lose games, and you lose heart. You're like, what am I? You start to think, okay, am I just bad? Am I just a dumb player? Am I just bad at this game? And it's just not a good experience. So that's why game designers are like, well, it needs to be random enough to where a guy like that's played 20 games is going to have a random shot at taking down a better player. Right. So, and just being honest here, that's why these newer games that have opposed rolling systems feel so much better to casual players, because it's like, oh, okay, well, that guy may be smarter than me. He may have played 10 times as many more reps in the game as I have, but I roll dice pretty well. I should be able to just weather all of his smart stuff that he throws at me through my dice rolls. So I understand why it's done. It's just on behalf of those guys that put in the reps and the time, It's still not the worst thing in the world, though, right? Because they're still winning 19 games. I guess it's when that 20th game is like for a grand tournament or something like that. I can see where their gripe comes in, right? It was like, oh, I lost my 20th game, and it happened to be a Masters tournament or something like that. Shockingly, page 5 probably wasn't the best idea when we're torn apart. But that was the culture of that game. I don't know. I never got big into War Machine. But when I was really studying War Machine, and I used to watch the YouTube War Machine channels, I even liked the super hardcore competitive ones that would announce everything like you're watching like UFC or some shit. That's right. This one. Epic Warcaster. They'd go. They would announce the casters, and they would have that that guitar riff playing in the background. You're like, what the hell? What am I? These are just guys pushing miniatures across the board. Why do I feel like there's going to be some ad for boner pills or something in the middle of this? So, yeah, I don't know. It was, but I appreciated that. I'm like, I kind of do like this sort of esports aspect to War Machine, and I liked it for Guild Ball too. I liked that as well. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. We've called the Kingdom Cup that way too, or it's kind of like you're watching like a sporting event, right? I should have done an ad for boner pills in the middle of my, had Andrew read something while he's calling the Kingdom Cup. That would have been cool. But yeah, there's kind of a cool aspect. I mean, you guys remember, we did a Guild Ball tournament in the middle of an esports tournament at an esports bar. That was pretty dope, right? That was season 1 Guild Ball. When the game was really starting to pick up, and the esports guys got a hold of me, and they're like, "Hey man, we heard you do Guild Ball. We want you to host a tournament while we're doing like some sort of Mortal Kombat tournament or whatever." Hey, what's up, man? Dreadlun. Off to work, just saying hi. Have a good one, dude. Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to see that you're still streaming and putting up stuff, because I like to watch. I like to watch you do stuff, and and I loved your streams. It's too bad we can't do the music anymore, because those are like my favorite Dreadlun streams. I do want to hear your commentary though. Your honest commentary on shit. Really, really like that. Let's see. To be fair, on the Warlords front, I think that the assassination on Warcaster's win condition was my reason for sticking around. I knew that if I made a mistake, I could really mess them up. Yeah, that's a thing too. I mean, that was a double-edged sword. Uh, I never really liked that rule in theory, but the way you just described it right now, I'm like, huh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because that's like, okay, even if you're doing really poorly in the game, you still have this one sort of Hail Mary condition that if you played for it, it might reward you, right? It might pay off. So I get that. All right. Look at my mantis with the pink purple eyes. Take the blue pill now. Go back. Now go back to Guild Ball. Yeah. You want to have good experiences, and you want to walk around with a confidence you've never had before. Take this blue pill. Make sure you consult your doctor beforehand. Now back to Guild Ball. That would be pretty dope. All right. We're looking pretty good, right? We're looking pretty good. I want to deepen some shadows here. And to do that, we got to find the right color ink. Caster kill first turn off, but I realized it definitely gave you an option. Yeah. War Machine, I think, could have been a game that I really liked. Honestly. Now that I played Guild Ball and really loved and understood Guild Ball, War Machine just never... The times I was introduced to War Machine, it never landed with me. It never landed with me because people couldn't explain to me what I understand now. Right? About this is how a competitive mindset is played. And War Machine, and that was when War Machine was in its prime, and from all accounts from War Machine players, that it was a phenomenally good game. And I've always appreciated that War Machine in its top tier had a lot of really super, super cool people, right? Mostly Gale, who is a good friend of mine, for running everything, and she was the one that showed me, like, here's the best parts of War Machine, and then she would quickly show me, with pure naked honesty, here's the shitty parts about War Machine, right? Hey, what's up, David Love? Right, so she really gave me a very clear picture of War Machine, but was very honest with me. Like, you're gonna like this, Octave. You're not gonna like this, Octave. Come in, if you're serious about it, spend some real time. We'll hang out. I'll show you, right? And I got in a couple of really good games with her and her crew. Unfortunately, she only taught me one of those times, and some of the other times I was just I was being taught by somebody she was training to become a press ganger, and he was like, well, you do this, and then what? And he didn't really understand. So we got some of that. Shoot, I cannot find my turquoise ink. No. But, yeah. My favorite thing about War Machine was, like I said, what was my favorite thing about many of these war games, which is you put the pieces down and you're like, whoa, that's so cool. And then the experience from there kind of just goes downhill in a lot of cases. I mean, I've got a Star Wars Legion army. I'll play some Star Wars Legion. Once in a while, it just doesn't seem interesting to me. It really doesn't. I'll jump down. I'll jump on and play it. I know the couple of times I've played it, I can say with full sincerity that I feel it's a superior game to 40K. I just don't feel like it's a good game value worth my time. Just like put my pieces down, go, oh, that's so cool, and then that's it. Just don't care what happens after that. Hey, what's up, Sean? Yeah, I don't know. Right, so right now, with all the games that we play, my main thing has been, is it worth my time? Is the game worth my time? Do I get a good enough experience based on the amount of time invested in the game, right? And that, to me, is that, I'll just call it the Malifaux problem. That's all. The only way I can kind of describe this is I have to call it the Malifaux problem, because Malifaux 3.0 is, in theory, M3E is one of my favorite game systems. Period. Placebo Pete, hey man, everybody come hang out. What's up? It is. I will just go on record and say that I think it's one of the best games I played in a very, 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 very long time. I still love playing it. I want to play more of it. Here's the issue. It takes a damn long time to finish the game. It's just too much game. Right? It would be I would never stop play if the game was regularly 1 hour. If Malifaux was regularly an hour-long game, I probably wouldn't be picking up other games and playing it. Full honesty. But because this game is like regularly 2-3 hour games, I'm looking at my Sunday. I'm looking at my time going, man, I don't know. Like, I mean, and then MCP was a game that I really, because it's like I said, I don't consider it a competitive game. It's got this swingy dice system. It's got just, here's the power gamery stuff you can do in this game. I've got objective misgivings for the game, and yet it finishes in an hour regularly. I actually get mad at MCP games that go like 2 hours. They're actually like, what? Why? Yeah. But that's the Malifaux problem. Like, it's a great game. It is a great game. But it is very hard for me personally to swallow the regular amount of time for that game. Am I going to play it again? Of course I'm going to play it again. Absolutely love it. Yeah, dying to play it again. Want to play some more Malifaux again. But it's like, okay, Sunday, so a typical Sunday for me these days has been like, okay, well, I freed it up, so I have from like 11 to about 3. Got 11 to about 3, right? And it's really the way people show up at the shop and, and are playing other games. A lot of times my game doesn't start till about noon, or maybe even a little bit later. And so you're like, okay, noon 3, do I want to play Malifaux, which will eat up the entire day, or do I want to play some MCP and then just kind of hang out and bullshit the rest of the time, right? That's kind of where, yeah, and they're mentally, yeah, that's another big thing, is the fatigue. The mental fatigue is real, right? I would feel mental fatigue playing Guild Ball. I'm like, man, if I play, like when I play a Guild Ball tournament, I got to prepare myself for 3 games of Guild Ball. Like 3, I got to prepare myself for that. I can't just be like, oh, 3 games of Guild Ball. MCP, I can be like, bring on game 4, it's just whatever, just push your shit around, it's fine. I walked out of that tournament the other day with no mental fatigue. Just like, alright, I'm going to go get my kids some food, and, well, I was ready to play some more. I'm like, if I had time, I would go. Thomas, in fact, was like, Octave, we could game after my shift on Saturday. I'm like, dude, I want to do that. Um, but no, I had to get back to my kids. Still, that's MCP. Like that is one of the beauties of playing that game. Is like, well, and same with Aristea. Aristea, you could do that. Aristea, we could play like 5-6 games at Aristea. I think we've done that before. We're just chilling out. We would go to like GameCraft or whatever, and just spend like the whole damn day there playing Aristea. We used to do that. We'd like, yeah, okay, play another one. Play a multiplayer. We'll play another game Aristea. Yeah, fine. Right, still good. And that's like a big Aristea, I think, actually, frankly, does it better. Still does it better than most of these games because Aristea is at least slightly more competitive than MCP. And the reason why I will say that is the dice system, the opposed dice system, is at least slightly more stable. MCP, there are people that will tell you that you can be rolling. I think they figured out that an absolutely perfect scenario and perfect situation, you can have characters that are rolling well past 30 dice. Okay? Now, the chances of actually getting those scenarios lined up are astronomically ridiculous, but that should give you some idea that the opposed dice roll system is not normalized in MCP the way it is in Aristea. So yes, I will say, to be able to strike, I still feel like pound for pound, Aristea is still the best overall miniature gaming experience. If not considering community or lack thereof, okay? I'm talking about hobby, painting, setting up a game, playing a game, portability, clean enough rules, and getting in a good tactical experience. Aristea, man, still got a lot going for it. What's up, Jake? Hey, we got Jake and Mark back in the chat, and Placebo P. It's a SoCal Malifaux mini reunion happening up in here, Maine, and I'm painting some Malifaux. But you see what I'm saying, right? But you know what MCP has going for it over Aristea is the fact that 1 billion people could play MCP. Not a lot of people lining up around the corner to play some Aristea because they don't even say the name right. Most of I'm gonna play this Aristocratica game. They don't know about Aristea. They don't know the cool characters, right? So kudos. I mean, like I said, I did not think when I started playing MCP, it was like, okay, we got Spider Foes, I'm down. I want to play some Sinister 6. There's a damn Mysterio model who is best dude. Mysterio is still dope. But yeah. So yeah, that's I don't know. That's what's going on. But yeah, the lack of mental fatigue is a big deal. Now you can, and community is always a mixed bag because, like I said, you run into some dickish players when you have a lot of people playing a game. And you play it publicly, you'll run into a fair amount of dickish players. You just have to accept that as a truth. But what's the advantage to that is your game is going to stick around on the shelf, and the scenario I was going into this past weekend was, well, we normally game Sunday, and today, instead of gaming, I had a whole day planned with my dad and seeing the grandkids because it's my son's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Octavius! We're gonna have so much dope shit happen tomorrow. It's gonna be great. Anyways, so my Sunday was out, right? So I'm like looking at the weekend, and like, damn, am I gonna get in some good gaming? This is my life, guys. This is first world problems. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, when am I gonna get my fix? What is this? This is bullshit. I need to play something, right? And Saturday, guess what? It's an MCP tournament. I'm like, you know what? I could get 3 games in. I could do that. Like, I could get 3 games in and go be home by 6 p.m. And 3 games of MCP, I won't even be fatigued. I could go home, be a good dad, you know. I think I didn't make dinner. Sometimes but like after the last one, I went home after the previous tournament. I came home, cooked dinner for my family, did the dishes, totally fine. I couldn't do that when I was like playing Guild Ball, hosting Guild Ball tournaments. Get home and I'd be like, oh, fucking beat, man. I'm tired. People still like texted me about rules. Are you sure you got this rule right? I'm like, I don't know. Just tired. Need to be a dad now. Can you just let me like casually ignore my kids for 15 minutes? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm a good dad. I promise I'm a good dad. But I'm just saying, like, I get home from some of these things and be like, oh my god, I can't. Like it was a lot of beat. But MCP, man, I was like, yeah, I rolled around, played 3 games, rolled a bunch of dice, watched this guy power game dunk on me, and then I came home. Chris won the tournament. That was dope, right? Did everybody say congratulations to Chris? Because that was, I will say, he won a tournament. He hadn't played MCP in a month, and no, he did not have a Koye in his list. That's a real major fucking accomplishment as far as I'm concerned, and we need to recognize that because it's dope. All right, Jake, I will tell Octavius in the morning. I will tell him happy birthday from Uncle Jake, and he's like, "Who's that?" I mean, like, you met him once. I'll still tell. I'm gonna play this new board game, Arthritis. It's like That's just me. I'm saying, like, if I could start anybody from beginning to end and go, here's the miniature gaming hobby, the game I would take them to would be Aristea. Because chances are they have maybe some board game experience. Maybe they got a little sci-fi or RPG experience, right? And they can understand these bright colored dice with all these cool symbols on them. They could paint 4 miniatures. 4 minis. They could paint 4 really cool minis, put them on the board, and they can be done with a game of Aristea within an hour. Like, it's the best top to bottom. And it's small enough we're not setting up ridiculous amounts of terrain. We could play it at the bar. Best game, right? We could play at the bar. Not the big extra table that we get at GameCraft, but we could literally play Aristea at the bar of GameCraft, not the good table. Alright, so much call out. Yeah, we gotta say, yes, Chris showed up to a game that he does not consider to be competitive, and we all agree it's not. I would not put MCP in the realm of competitive game, and he won, dude. That was fucking great. Anyways, let's see. How old's little man now? He is still drawing his weird Tim Burton shit. He's gonna be 8 tomorrow, which is a big year. For me, 8 was a big year. I don't know about you guys, but that was, I'll tell my son, like, 8 was one of the best years of my life. Okay? All the dope shit happened when I was 8 years old, right? I could ride a bike. I had a hot teacher. I was like, it was a good year to be me. I was good at math, and I got more attention from my hot teacher. Like, that was a big change for me. I was kind of a dick kid before that time, so. Look, you came here for honesty. I'm just telling you, I was not the best kid until I hit about 8. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm actually good at math. I think the subject itself is boring, but I get a lot of attention from my hot teacher, so I'm all right with that. Yes. Yes, this is the early days of me realizing that Asians were, in fact, look, I grew up in Connecticut, okay? There weren't many Asians. I did not know. I didn't know we were all kind of naturally good at math. I had to discover that shit on my own. And, yeah, so. Anyway. Like, look, Malifaux. Okay, the weird thing is, Malifaux gets a lot of play from the RPGers. There are a lot of people that love RPGs and love Malifaux. Why? Like, what? They're like, especially, I would ask I would ask the non-miniature gamers, like, why Malifaux? Why? And they would say, well, yeah, it's a long, complicated, intricate game, but it is kind of like playing a role. It is kind of like, it's so immersive when you play, and it's so narrative when you play that they don't mind it. Like, they don't, like, they'll deal with how complicated a game it is and how long a game it is because. And that is Malifaux, right? Like, I always tell people, what's cool about Malifaux is that you get to you pick your keyword and your master, and you get to pull all of their bullshit long enough to either win or lose the game. And by the time you lose the game, you don't really care that much because you got to hand out a bunch of drugs if you're playing Jacob Lynch, for example, right? Let's see. You grew up in Connecticut. Yes. Interesting facts about Octave. Was born in Kansas. That is true. Was born in Kansas. Lived my first 5 years in Kansas. And then when I was a kid, like post 5-year-old, 5 to 10-year-old kid, I was in Connecticut. Yes. So I got that little, I got that Connecticut stuffiness where they're all kind of dicks and they just judge you. Right? When I was in Connecticut, you were in Connecticut. You were either Irish or Italian, and so my friends were, and between the two, there were okay. Sorry, there are the main white people in Connecticut, right? They're the main white people in Connecticut. They're just sort of the East Coast liberal, like, okay, just like, yes, we love you, but we really don't want you in our neighborhood type liberal, right? So we had those people that did not want us in their neighborhood. But then you had your Italians, right, that were coming in from like New Jersey, New York, whatever. There was a lot of Italians in the area, a lot of Irish, and I didn't realize white people didn't really like the Irish very much, but there was that. And then Jews, and I was like, I didn't even understand, like, we knew that the white people didn't like us for sure, but we're like, I'm like, you drew a line there? Like, that's a line? So I had to figure that out in Connecticut. So my friends in Connecticut were either Italian, Jewish, or Irish. Those were my friends in Connecticut because the regular white kids are like, no. But anyways, yeah. But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. They were still, they were, yeah. Okay. The style of Malifaux attracts a weird group because of Weird West. Yeah, and that's cool, right? That was one of the cool things that we celebrated about Malifaux, right? Was it wasn't so much the game itself, like the game allowed you to do really kooky, weird shit. We celebrated that, but we also really liked just, I guess, the weird kind of flavor that you got with Malifaux, right? We had our steampunk outfits, and we sang karaoke, and we did all that cool shit that had not as much to do with the game as you might think. But that was, I don't know, that was kind of the really fun stuff about that game, and the game still has that, right? I feel like it lost some of that in M2E when it felt more. The game itself felt more mechanical. It felt more. M2E, in my opinion, was a better engine for competitive play because it was kind of built with that in mind. And M3 is also, it's built for competitive play, but it's built so. I'm going to use a word here that's interesting, that I think is interesting. I feel like the new design of Malifaux 3rd Edition is insular. That's the word I'm going to use. Insular. And that's a weird word to use. And I realize I just made a pun. But and the reason why I say that is because it's almost like the design of this game. This game is designed by people that are just sort of trapped in this bubble of Malifaux's our life. And you should be able to have the craziest, most intricate playstyles available to you. Do I love that? Yes, I do love that. But there are certain consequences in reality that we have to pay to enjoy the game. The main one being your time. That the game is going to take an inordinate amount of time to play. And you have to be willing to just accept that. If you want to play the game as designed, as intended, you better be willing to give up at least 2 hours to enjoy a full, thematic, intricate game of Malifaux. And that's just where the game is today. It is designed in that manner that you have to accept it for what it is. And it can be a good thing or a bad thing. What are we talking about? Irish. Not even the Irish, like the Irish. Well, I'll talk a little bit about the Irish we had in Connecticut, because the Irish we have in Connecticut are sort of, they're one notch up from the Irish you might run into in, say, Massachusetts. Okay, just be right. So when you hear the Boston guys, right? Think it's kind of like those guys, but like maybe one step removed from those guys. When the minis meant plastic, it just didn't excite me. Thin boxes evokes a very empty feeling in me. Oh, but I'm still gonna show you guys some shit. Hold on. Since we all hanging out, since we all boys and we hanging out, I'm gonna show you some shit. Okay. Hold on. Just let me get this done. Look, the praying mantis is pretty dope, though. I'm gonna say probably needs a little bit of ink to soften it up, but we cool. I have to play some English Ivan at some point. Maybe I'll play this in League, which means I have to buy EVS crew and just count everything as a 9. Worst playstyle ever, but coolest miniatures ever. Nautical themed things that just count all their cards as good cards. That's the playstyle. Alright. Alright. Let's let that dry. Let's go look at some shit. Alright, let's go look at some shit. Hold on. No more Malifaux hate from this guy. I'm happy it's a good game. Yeah. No, it's a good game. It really is. I really enjoy it. I think one day when we carve out like a full afternoon and we want it, and you want to just see it, we'll just make that happen. Right? We'll just do it. But let's do this. Let's get all this stuff out. We gotta see this real thing. Alright. Hey, welcome to my unboxing video. Alright, here we go. You knew this was gonna happen, right? Here we go. Oh, knocking shit all over the place. Desk is too messy. Ta-da! So, I'll pan around. So, Malifaux. Look at that! We got the girl, Karis. We got Sad Riva, not on her horse. And we got the Deacon McBurney face. So, there's the new Karis. I thought that I was unimpressed when this first came out, but let's have a look. Let's unbox this, guys. Do this. Man, I'm so bummed I did not ask Bing to buy me the new English Ivan. Oh, man. Now, this is a bit of a gripe, right? Because they're making you buy a kit with 2 masters of different factions and a cross model, a model cross keyword. So, not exactly the best thing to split with you and your friend that plays Riva. Let's look at this kit here. I mean, I could probably build it. It's pretty easy. And then, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, she looks like, and she kind of plays like Dark Phoenix. I was saying that this new Karis her new playstyle is like, it's like if you, I was just bitching about how Malifaux takes a lot of time. This Karis will either kill you, like blow you up in a short period of time, or she will blow herself up in a short period of time. There's no in between. And so I'm actually kind of excited to get this on the board. So there's not too many pieces to it either. You can see just a couple of swirls here. The wings are all one. Oh, what am I doing? You can't even see it. I'm swinging this down. Sorry. Whoop. So the wings are all one piece here. You get the couple of swirly pieces there. We got to figure out these are the hands. There's the body. The face is separate, but that's okay. And you got the leg poses, right? She comes on a 40. That's very important, right? Because she's going to gain most of her abilities through having lots and lots and lots of burning on her, and she can even fly as long as she is standing in one of her own, like in a pyre marker. So let's look at this. Let's look at the Karis model. All right. Right, and I know this has been discussed ad nauseum and stuff on other forums, but I'll just give you kind of my take on her. I like the stats are still good. Does not have the built-in the burning defense trigger. Move 7, always pretty sexy. And then, so Burning Man's Gift. Okay, friendly wildfire models with burning +3 or more may add any one suit to their final duel totals. That's pretty sexy right there. So we're talking about models that are really going to have a lot of burning on them. So the main one that comes to mind is like the Fire Golem, but like it's pretty easy to get burning +3 on, say, Carlos, or I forget the Flameborn dudes. Frenzied Charge. This is pretty hot. This model may ignore the once per activation restriction on the charge action. Dope. Hard to wound. Good rule. Scorching Radiance. Once this model would suffer damage from the burning during the end phase, it may have another model within 3. Another model within 3. Okay? Friendly enemy does not care to suffer that damage instead. So here's another cool thing about, say, Carlos, for example. Let's say we didn't put any burning on Carlos, and we just kept him within 3 of Karis. Carlos could suffer the burning up to +3, reduce that to 0, and hand out Distracted. That's pretty sexy, right? But there's plenty of other models too. Her totem is never affected by the burning condition, so she could just be like, okay, my totem will just take it. Wings of Fire, if this is the cool rule I was talking about. If this model starts a move in base contact with a pyre marker, it ignores other models and terrain while moving. So she just gains flight because she don't have her metal wings. She has the burning wings, and you just got to put pyre markers around her and make her start around pyre markers if you need. Now you don't need flight though, right? She doesn't have run and gun, so you don't necessarily need flight, but it's kind of cool to have flight when you need it. All right. Okay, so now she's more like think more melee attack Karis as opposed to the ranged gunner, run and gunner that she typically is, right? So here's her melee action. 1 range in the stat 6 against defense. This is a nice spread. 2, 4, 5. That's pretty nice with the blasts. That's nice. Instead of dropping blast, this drops an equal number of pyre markers in base contact with the target. That's also pretty dope. You've got a push on a crow, and then you've got a push for additional damage. You can also use a smolder trigger to increase damage and reduce burning, and then the mass trigger. It's probably not something you're going to be playing for unless you're like playing against someone like a Jackdaw or even Lynch. Like making Lynch pitch cards is bad for him. Eruption of Flames. So this is not a gun thing, which is really nice. So it's just a range 6, and then and you're only you only need a 4 card for it. And it's a once per turn. Drop a power marker. So this is important wording. Drop a power marker within range. Okay, remember when we said create a power marker or create a marker, that it can't be in contact with anyone? Drop a power marker is literally drop a power marker. Bam. Put it right on top of your homies. Right? Models in base contact with the drop marker or in the area between this model and the marker gain burning +1. So in a straight line between her and the power marker, you're going to hand out burning. That's pretty dope. And it's got a surge trigger, and it's nice. And then Trail of Ash, remove all destructible or scheme markers in base contact with the drop marker or the area between this model and the marker. Oh, that's some pretty nuts anti-Colette tech right there. Right? That just wrecks stuff off a mask trigger there, right? And with burning +3, she can just basically declare what trigger she wants. Melting Point's the tactical action. This action may draw line of sight and range from friendly wildfire models with burning +3 or more. That's amazing. So line of sight and range. So basically, basically arc noding off of your own models that have burning +3. Again, you're going to want to have the fire golem and the burning guys in mind. Carlos is great. The fire starter is great for all of these. Okay, models within range are pushed 2 inches in any direction and gain burning +2. That's fire. And this is now this is not a once per turn action. So with 3 actions, you can just push models up the board. If you manage with once you get +3 burning, you can start pushing your own models around pretty quickly for nothing. It's just the action, right? And Call to the Burning Man requires just a 4, and you get a heal with more burning because you want more burning. And then this gives you another power marker off of a crow trigger. I like that this model she's not terribly trigger dependent, but she'll get what she wants. And for the most part, you're gonna want these crow triggers, which is great because the rest of her crew tends to like books and masks. And books, masks, and rams are really good for the rest of her crew. So this is really a really nice, efficient build with the rest of her crew. So I'm excited to play some Karis. It's going to be pretty dope. Yeah, it says models in range, including enemies. And it's just she's got nice control action in there. She's got a really nice melee attack and the ability to get to the points that she wants. She can charge multiple models per turn. And so what's cool, let's say, for example, you have 3 actions. You do 1 action to attack. You do this, right? You do your hand of immolation. Then assuming you're able to get burning +3 on the target or whatever, then you can do Melting Point to push the model away, and then you can charge something else. That's pretty hot, and you can heal yourself. Pretty hot. Like this, pretty great stats on that model and her crew. Her crew actually really cool. I was looking at her rules. I didn't pay too much attention to this homeboy. I love how his hand is extended out like that. Listen, the book says. Alright. 7 cost Enforcer, which fits a really interesting spot. He's going to fight with Burger for role in the crew. I like Burger, and her ability to push Burger around the board. That's his one issue, is he's a little on the slow side, but Homeboy pretty dope. Okay, stats not great. 5-4 not great. 5 move not so great. Blaze Glory, you can lower the burning condition by 1 to receive a plus. That's always a good thing, just kind of built in by itself. It's not great. Well, I mean, it's decent. It'll get you around distracted, that kind of stuff. Demise Flaming +2 after this model's killed. You suffer +2 damage and burning +2. And then this model does not drop any markers. That's also great. So once you kill his 7 wounds and very low defensive stats, he at least gets a blow up on you, right? The burning condition cannot be ended, or this is why you take this dude. The burning condition cannot be ended or reduced on models within 6 by enemy effects. That means your assist action is pointless near this guy. Manipulative, so it's going to be annoying once he's in position to deal with him. So that's really his only defensive tech. This dude is saying actually and reading the rules. Actually. Spirits and Flames. This model may treat power markers as hazardous, shielded +1. That's kind of hot. So you're gonna so if you start him in a power marker, he'll just gain shielded. That's pretty dope. Okay. Corrupting Flame, stat 5 on willpower, 1, 2, 3, and burning +2. Okay, simple. Simple, not that impressive. Flame Blast, here we go. We like these burning things. This is kind of it's very similar to Karis 1's Flame Blast attack. In fact, I think it's the same. Oh, no, Craze Ramblings is different. That's a different trigger. But same range, same stat. Once per activation, after resolving, this model gains shielded with an equal value to the target's burning condition. Okay, so he's got a lot of active and passive defensive tech, which explains why his stats are kind of crap. Translocation Ritual. Place the target within 6 inches of its current position and within 1 inch of a power marker. That's kind of dope. You do need a book to get it, though. That blows. But he has burning +3. He can give himself that book. And it's an 8-inch range. 8-inch range and a 6. That's... I kind of like that ability. So it costs you a 6. It costs you a 6 and you need to be burning +3. But that's pretty sick. And it's not once per turn. That's kind of awesome. Okay, and then tactical action, call it Burning Man. Okay, so he has the heal too. I don't know. I may have to build him too. I mean, might as well. Kind of dope, right? So let's look at his pieces. Tuxedo Mask, we'll call him. He's Tuxedo Mask Rules Lawyer. Actually. Guy's pretty dope. Alright, so that's that's one of the Malifaux kits I got, but it's the only exciting one from a rule standpoint. I also picked up the Tortoise and the Hare, so I can have the nuts looking Blessed of December for my Rasputina crew, which should be pretty cool. I want to get, I know Nelson and Jose are trying to, I think Jose's kit, he's got the next spot reserved. So I'm supposed to paint something for Jose, but we'll see. But in the meantime, I might as well get caught up on all my Malifaux painting, right? And since we're playing a league, I'll be playing Arcanist in the league so that I can play her, and I can play Colette, obviously, and we'll see when the new Marcus shows up, because new Marcus is kind of dope. Marcus. Yeah, the correct. Yeah, let me show you what. I think these are pre-assembled. I may be wrong. Alright, first the bad news. This, boo, boo. The iconic deck, paper deck. Boo, weird. Bad, weird. No, stop with the paper decks. I thought we were past that point. All the other decks for a while were plastic and they're great. Why did we go back to paper? Paper decks suck. Here's the other one. The Duality Fate deck. Has cool art. Guess what? Let me show you, because it's upsetting. Upsetting. Alright. Look at first the back. What is this? Does it look like trash on the back? Why does it look like trash? Look at that memory. See that? See that? Paper deck. Boo. Boo weird. Like, why would I buy this? I did buy it, but like what? If I knew that it was paper, that's terrible. Terrible. Weird. Terrible. Plastic decks. Anyway. So I'm not even gonna open my iconic deck. It's just making me mad. I just don't even want to look at it. Alright. But we did get this. I guess I can pop it open and see if it... I think these are built. Otherwise, I'm not used to seeing a box this thick from Weird. But yes, Cracked Out Bunny. I should actually, you know what? Should probably give the tortoise to Kevin since he plays Zamu. The first plastic, yes, you're right, Jake. The first one was, and they have the worst deck they ever came out with are the ones that come in the starter boxes. The Explorer Society starter kit has the worst deck Weird has ever made. Look at that. That's awesome. And yes, they are pre-built. Have you guys ever seen Twilight Zone the movie? The I believe it's a 1985 movie. There is a there's that like Beyonder type kid that just makes whatever happen. There's a like freak out all the adults and get them killed and stuff. That kid, there's a part in that story where that kid makes basically this. But yeah, plastic is it's a bit softer. You can see a mold line here, right? Pretty nice though. Okay, this thing is kind of dope. I love this a lot. This thing that is it's Gamera. I love Gamera. But yeah, this thing is cool. Look at the sandals on that. That's dope. Okay, I do love that. Shit, I should play Izamu. Look at... Yeah. That was worth buying. I'm actually pretty happy. Pretty happy with that. With that set. Happy with the new Karis. That's pretty cool. I also have the new book. But I don't have a big enough display to kind of flip through that. But, yeah. Yeah, Big Willy's Wonderland vibes. I never sat and watched that movie yet. And it was free for streaming at one point. But alright, Umbra stuff it's gonna be done. I don't know. Maybe a while before I put Ivan back on the table again to try this stuff. But my favorite is the Praying Mantis. the Brockenspecter. They're okay. I'm having second thoughts of whether or not I should have painted the eyes in that pink, but whatever. They're cool. We'll seal it up. It'll be fine. My main concern with Malifaux is like storing all this stuff. Yeah, we were gonna watch. We were gonna. That it was one of Lex's picks for one of our Wednesday movies, and we just never. We were never able to find it on the right. Like, it never made it to the Amazon free thing on Twitch where you could watch it for free. So, anywho, I do not want to jump into another project just yet, but man, that's so dope. That's much cooler than the Blessed. I can't wait to put this in the in my Rasputina crew. And then yeah, Karis is gonna be dope. I don't know what I want. I mean, I do have all the Ivan stuff done, but frankly, I want to try some Karis, man. I think Karis. I could put together a 50 Soulstone Karis list and play that. And I play both Karises because I think you have a this Karis though. The only issue with this one is I feel like this one is probably still better at Turf War. It's a tough one. I mean, the Karis 1 is more mobile, but this Karis is just, for Turf War, is just going to wreck immediately. Right? So, anyways, I think, guys, we've done what we can do for one night. I got this cool day lined up tomorrow for Octavius' birthday. He wants to, okay, don't make fun of him, but so he goes to before and after school daycare at his school, and he has a lot of friends there. So, and even though the kids don't have school tomorrow, the teachers still have personal development days tomorrow. So he wants to go to his TLC in the morning like he's going to school, and then I'm going to pick him up. We're going to go, me and him and his brother are going to go to, we're going to go to the pumpkin patch. We may go to the reptile zoo. We're just going to do cool shit that an 8-year-old wants to do on his birthday. And then that's going to be the majority of our day. So, you going to play Epic Karis or normal Karis? I'll play both. I mean, it's a league, so you just play your faction. So I've got Epic Karis, normal Karis. I've got Colette, Marcus. We're allowing Ramos. I can play Ramos. And who else do I have in Arcanus? Is that it? Oh, Rasputina. Or anybody else? I don't currently have a Mayfeng crew. Aw. Mayfeng still sucks, guys. Mayfeng sucks bad. Mayfeng 1 still sucks, but Mayfeng 2 a little bit better, but now the model sucks for Mayfeng. Mayfeng did not take M3E very well, guys. So anyways, I'm going to call it here. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good night. And then, wait. So before you guys jump off, next Sunday, we're doing the thing locally. Mark, if you can figure out a way to get down here next Sunday, you're going to want to be down here. Okay? I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. It is a long journey. Trust me. But if you can somehow figure out a way to get down here for next Sunday, it's going to be on. You guys know what's going on next Sunday. It's going to be dope. Oktoberfest 2021. Jake helped really kind of orchestrated this to line up and make everything cool happen. So you're going to want to do your best. We try to make all of that happen a week from today. All right, guys. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.